Welcome to Tales from the Collection, and it's time for another Through the Mail autograph collecting recap. On this video, we're going to show you what I've collected basically over the last month or so by sending fan mail to celebrities, athletes, and musicians, and requesting autographs from them. I also oftentimes will request responses to Q&As, and I will post those interviews on talesfromcollection.com/interviews. First up, we have a return from MLB player Ryne Sandberg. Now, if you're a sports ball fan, then you're going to know him from playing baseball. But if you're an NES fan like me, a player of the Nintendo Entertainment System from way back in the 90s or even the 80s, then you're going to remember that Ryne Sandberg had his very own video games. That's right, Ryne Sandberg plays Bases Loaded 3. It's a very cool baseball video game featuring him on the cover. I sent him the video game itself as well as a booklet. And actually this one it took me 2 attempts to get. He charges $20 per autograph, so I sent him a check for $40. He cashed the check the first time around, but neglected to sign the games, so I had to send the games to him the second time around with proof that he cashed the check. And that time he remembered to sign the games, and he sent them back at no additional charge for that second time. So very happy to get this response back. I got the game and the booklet signed. I got a bunch of NES games in my collection already, so this is going to join the rest of them. Up next, we're going to have a couple of playbills. This first one is coming from the Broadway play The Roommate. This is at the Booth Theater, and it stars Mia Farrow and the legendary Patti LuPone. Now, Patti LuPone, she's kind of like Broadway royalty. She's one of the biggest names on Broadway, so it's very cool to have her signed right here and then Mia Farrow right there. Of course, I wrote to the stage manager, and whenever you're writing to any Broadway theater, if you want to get a cast signed playbill, meaning the entire cast signing the playbill, you're going to want to write to the stage manager. Of course, you can send a request to an individual actor if you want to just write Mia Farrow, or you just want to write Patti LuPone, or whoever it may be that's in the production. Of course, you can always write them individually, but if you want something that's signed by the cast, it's the stage manager that you're going to want to address your letter to. Now, additionally, I did make a $20 donation to Broadway Cares. A lot of the times that's not a requirement. Many people will send you a signed playbill completely for free, but to increase your chances, I would say send a $20 donation because sometimes they'll send you back something. If they require a donation, they'll let you know via a note sent back, and then you can just try again with the donation. And at the end of the day, it's a good cause. It supports HIV/AIDS research. So definitely something that I would recommend supporting regardless. All right, here's one from Sally Field, and if you notice the envelope to my left, then you're going to see that is from the Spanky Taylor Company. And of course, what does that mean? It means that's probably, well, definitely an Autopen or a pre-printed signature, so not an authentic signature. The Spanky Taylor Company is a fan mail processing company that many different celebrities hire to handle their fan mail. So the celebrities that hire this company, they never see the fan mail themselves, but they do pay money to send out photos to fans, which get signed, in this case, by an Autopen machine. So that's a pen with an armature that holds an actual pen and signs on there via a template, something like that. So yeah, I mean, you can see it looks like live ink. You can see the impression marks. It looks pretty cool, but it's done with an Autopen machine. However, Sally Field, at least out of her pocket somewhere, paid for this, and I appreciate the effort. It's much better than just getting a return to sender, which is just an outright refusal. So this is going to go in a special storage container that I have with just these preprints and Autopens. Here's one that I'm excited to share. I had a very nice conversation with Jeanne Lauren, that's her maiden name, and she was on the Star Wars Return of the Jedi project, where she was basically in the creature shop working for ILM. She made Droopy McCool and some of the other characters, but she also got to be part of the production, flying her over to England to do like the Jabba's Palace scenes, and she was a personal assistant to Anthony Daniels. In this photo, you can see her here working on his costume, making sure everything's good. I sent her a paint pen. Didn't quite take to the glossy photos so much, which is why matte photos are always good to have, but I did kind of want to get them faster, and it's much easier to get a glossy photo. You have to usually send out for matte ones, so in hindsight, I probably should have waited for the matte one, but that's okay. Here's her with one of her creations. This guy was, I forget what his name is, but he was chilling outside of Jabba's palace, if you remember Return of the Jedi. And, she signed various images behind the scenes. These are all taken mostly except for that C-3PO one at the ILM shop in California. So she was over there creating these creatures, sculpting them out of foam and putting skin on them and like doing all kinds of stuff. But like I said, she was also flown out to London where she saw Carrie Fisher in the Slave Leia costume behind the scenes, all kinds of cool stuff. And like I said, I talked to her for an hour and did a written Q&A with her as well. So there's a very good interview on talesfromthecollection.com/interviews where you can find this one and all of my other interviews. Highly recommend you go and check it out. It's a pretty good read. Next up, we have one from an influencer and actress, Brianna Brown Keen. Now, she has a very good social media following. You can find her here on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and X. She was very kind enough. I reached out to her, sent her a couple index cards to sign, and to my surprise, she responded with this giant envelope, paid the postage, and provided 2 8x10 photos that she signed. They came out beautifully, I might add. This one here, the signature is a little bit harder to see on the dark background, but she signed here. And then, thanks for the support here. Love, Brianna. So, that's awesome. I absolutely love it, and I really appreciate her taking the time to not only respond to her fans, but also put in some extra effort, time, and even finances to pay for these prints, pay for the postage. Like, that's very solid of her, and I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, Brianna, for your time and consideration. All right, and this is going to be the last one for the 8x10s. This one is from Melanie Mayron. Now, she was in Mean Girls 2 and an older movie called Girlfriends, and she was also kind enough. I sent her 2 index cards. She signed those and returned it in a separate envelope. And then a second envelope she's provided herself, again, and with a photo that she provided herself and paid for the postage herself. So, again, another very generous act of kindness, and I appreciate that, going above and beyond for a fan who wanted to write and find out about her experience working on Mean Girls. So, yeah, there it is. All right, here we have Kevin Reynolds. So it's not just actors and influencers or artists that we do here. We also do directors, people who are behind the scenes. And Kevin Reynolds is one of those directors who I wrote to recently. He worked on Waterworld, Risen, and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. He signed 2 index cards for me, which is very nice. Robin Hood was kind of on my mind because it's been in the media a lot recently due to one of the iconic trees that was featured in the film getting hacked down by vandals. So, scenes from the movie have been shown up a lot over the last year or so. So I guess that was on my mind when I wrote to him a little bit, but he was kind enough to sign 2 index cards for me, and that's going to go great in my collection. Here we have something that another actor sent to me. I sent Judi Dench, Dame Judi Dench, I should add. I sent her 2 index cards to sign, but I was given this photo, which is about a 4x6 in response. This is a pretty standard thing. I think she probably has a stack of these pre-signed photos in her office, and then when somebody sends some fan mail, she doesn't have to be in the office. Her secretary can just send out an authentic autograph on her behalf. So that's what they did here, and they were even kind enough again. I sent, you can kind of see this is my envelope here, which got cut up and then pasted onto this one. These are my 2 stamps, and they even added an additional second-class stamp. So thank you to Dame Judi Dench's assistant, who took the time to cut up my envelope, adhere it to this one, and add some postage of her own, and include the signed photo. That was very nice, and it's going to make a great addition for sure. All right, if you thought the Star Wars successes were over, you would be wrong, because we have another one here. This one from Rogue One. Now, out of the modern Star Wars films, Rogue One is definitely my favorite. We got a great success from Eric MacLennan, and he signed 2 of these index cards, and included this postcard, which is unsigned, but this is from his band. He's also a musician as well, and here he signed it with both with some nice smiley faces, but also wrote out his name on this one, and then gave me the AKA for his Star Wars name, which is Tenzigo Weems. And I don't know if you guys have been rotting your brains on TikTok like I have, or if you've seen the dude who talks about all the weird Star Wars names on here, but I don't know, seeing that funky name on there definitely reminds me of that guy. So anyway, very nice addition to the Star Wars collection. So here's one I think a lot of people will enjoy. If you're a fan of the show Archer or Bob's Burgers, then you're going to know the 2 main men in those shows. Of course, I'm talking about Sterling Archer and Bob of Bob's Burgers. So the person who does those voices is H. John Benjamin, and he was kind enough to sign one index card for me. Unfortunately, it did get a little bit dinged up in the mail there. He signed to Tim. Hi, Tim. H. John Benjamin. So very nice of him to do that. All right, here we got actress Edie Falco, and she was on The Sopranos and 30 Rock. She signed one of two index cards for me. Here's a nice one from Claudia Christian. She was on Babylon 5 and a voice actor on Atlantis: The Lost Empire. You can see these index cards here. She decided to do switch it up a little bit here. She did one in landscape and then one in portrait, and you can see it's the same signature, but you got one which she kind of stretched out here, and then one which is a little bit more condensed and compact. And you know, I send out two index cards to almost everybody, and I've never seen someone vary up the signature like that so much, which is, I don't know, pretty cool. I like how, given the constraints of the space here, you have a very different looking signature. And I think it gives it a really cool look for both of those. So thank you very much, Claudia. Here's one that I goofed up a little bit. So I sent Andrea Brooks, who is known for her work on Supergirl, a request to send it all the way to Canada, and unfortunately I put a U.S. stamp on there, which is a no-go. If they're sending me a letter back from Canada, they can't use my U.S. postage. They have to use Canadian postage, which actually I have on hand because you can order it from the Canadian Post website and they'll send it to the US, so it's usually not too much of a problem to get it. However, she did have to put her own stamp because I messed up, and she was kind enough to do that, and it came back with no problem. So thank you very much, Andrea. I appreciate that. Alright, so now we have Julie Michaels, and I don't know if you've seen the new Roadhouse movie, the one on Amazon Prime. I was lucky enough to be there at the red carpet, which was at South by Southwest last March. So I've been keen and aware of the movie, and I have an interest in the 1989 original. I want to reach out to Julie because she was on that one. She was part of the cast. She signed two index cards for me and even answered my Q&A. Was very sweet about it, and I'm super happy that I got the response from her to pick her brain a little bit about, you know, what she thought of the movie and her memories of the original. Alright, here's a good one. This one is from Ellie Kendrick of Game of Thrones. Now, I wanted to leave it just as I sent it, basically here. What I did was I taped two card top loaders together, and rather than putting the cards inside of the top loaders, because what you're going to find inevitably is that if you do that enough times, someone is inevitably going to sign the top loader itself. They won't take the card out, and they won't sign the card itself. They'll sign the top loader, and you don't want to sign top loader. You're sending them a card, and you want the card signed. So to avoid that, because it will happen, put the cards outside of the top loader, or just raw dog it and like just put it in the envelope with nothing on it. The cards almost never get damaged, so you're more likely to have, I would say, someone signing the top loader than your card getting damaged with no protection at all. So either no protection or something like this where you just tape the top loaders together, you tape the cards to the top of the top loader. I use this painter's tape, which is like extra sensitive, and it doesn't leave residue, doesn't mess up your cards, you don't have to worry about it. You know, I guess your experiences may vary, so if your card does get messed up, don't blame me, but I haven't had any problems with it, and Ellie was very kind in signing two of them for me, so thank you very much, Ellie. Alright, this one's from Jenny Cresswell, now known as Jenny Miller, which is her married name, but she was billed as Jenny Cresswell in the original Star Wars, and so this one's kind of weird because we're talking about again, the 1977 film here. Her scenes actually didn't make the final cut, and we haven't actually seen her scenes until, you know, a number of years ago when the Blu-rays came out and they had all the deleted scenes and the special features. But she actually played Han Solo's girlfriend at the time, and she had some shots with Han Solo. They kissed on the screen, and they were hanging out in, you know, Mos Eisley or something like that. Yeah, I guess Mos Eisley, in the cantina. And I guess Harrison Ford actually kind of handpicked her out of a lineup of headshots and chose her to be his girlfriend on screen. So pretty cool. Like, she did answer my Q&A, which is very nice. I was very excited to get that from her. You know, I collect a lot of behind-the-scenes people from Star Wars, or people who had brief shots as a stormtrooper here or there. Like, anyone who had anything to do, especially with the original trilogy of Star Wars, like I want them in my collection. It's one of the most fun, like kind of sub niches of autograph collecting, I think, and I've been focused on that since the very beginning. So adding this new person to the collection is really fun for me. All right, here we have Keri Whitman. She was in Beverly Hills Cop 2 and on an episode of The X-Files. And as you can see, there's 4 index cards here, 2 in one color, 2 in another. It's because I messed up. I got a little bit impatient, I guess, and I sent 2 requests, unfortunately, and they both came back at the same time. So she signed for me twice. But as you can see here, she was in those films that I mentioned and the TV series, but she was also in February 1988 in the magazine Playboy. And if you go to the talesfromthecollection.com/interviews, like we talked about before, you may find that there's a whole article just on one page with interviews with Playboy Playmates, past and present. Really cool perspectives on parties at the mansion and how they got the job and how they feel about it, and reflections on their career. So this is 1 out of 3 this month that I got back. And speaking of Playboy, here are the other 2. The first one is from Summer Altice. She's actually a very cool person. You can find her on Instagram and social media. She does, she's like a sommelier. She does like wine collection curating. Has some really interesting stuff on there. And Susan Lynn Kiger, who was Miss January 1977. She even did some Playboy Bunny sketches on there for me. If you feel like going to the website and checking out those interviews, it's very PG, so you don't have to worry about seeing anything bad on there. So good to go. All right, next up is another Beverly Hills Cop alum. This one is Timothy Carhart. He was on Beverly Hills Cop number 3, and he was also on Ghostbusters. And of course, with the new Ghostbusters films coming out, Ghostbusters is a little bit top of mind, so it was really good to reach out to somebody who was part of the originals and ask him some questions and have him sign for me a little bit. He signed 1 out of 2 index cards for me. Unfortunately, did not respond to the questionnaire, but that's perfectly all right. I really appreciate adding him to the collection as well. Here's one from James Newton Howard. He's a composer, and he signed 1 out of the 2 index cards for me. He's best known for writing the music to The Hunger Games, as well as Peter Pan and The Village. And I was really having my fingers crossed that he would write a couple of bars of music on here, part of the score that he wrote. A lot of times when you do write composers, they'll be kind enough to do that. I didn't specifically request it, so that's my bad. He probably would have done it if I had. But really cool response to get from him nonetheless. So we've talked a lot about interviews that I've been doing through the fan mail hobby. You request an autograph, but you can also, throw some Q&As in there. Makes it a little bit more fun and interesting, and makes it a little bit more personal. But I've kind of like taken it to the next level, and Steve Ritchie was one who I got to get on the phone with, talk to him, again for probably about an hour. We talked about his illustrious career as a pinball designer. He started way back at the beginning of the 70s, I think 1974 or something like that, with Atari, and he started off baking circuit boards for the company, which they used in their computers, and then he kind of graduated into designing pinball, and he went on to other companies like Williams, and he also did some work in designing video games, and even the main reason why I initially reached out to him was he did some voice acting work on Mortal Kombat 2. He did the finish him, like those kinds of taglines. So yeah, he was a very nice guy to talk to, very interesting, had a lot of stories about like some of the inspiration for where the games came from and the whole process on working in the industry and all that stuff. So it was really good getting to know him. And again, if you want to check out his interview, talesfromthecollection.com/interviews. Yeah, so I try and mix it up for you guys a little bit. Don't want to just do all film people, just actors, directors, and video game people. But also today we're including some artists in here as well. This one is Dan Davis. He is an illustrator. You can see I sent him 2 index cards here. And he included his own kind of little graphic here with some of his characters, Garfield, Scooby-Doo, and Batman. He's very well known for his DC Comics illustrations. So very cool to get 3 of these things signed, one of them being a bonus. So thank you very much, Dan. All right, now we got one from Julianna Margulies. She was on The Sopranos and The Good Wife. She signed 2 out of 2 index cards for me. Thank you very much, Juliana. Appreciate it. Here's one that I'm very excited about. This one's from Kathy Bates. You might know her from The Waterboy or The Titanic even. What I decided to write her was for her role in Midnight in Paris. If you've ever seen it, you'll know how good it is. If you haven't, go see it. It's a really good Owen Wilson movie with Natalie Portman and really great cast. Absolutely love it, and I'm trying to get a bunch of index cards from the actors. I've got at least 5 already, maybe more, but this one was one that I definitely wanted. Eventually, when I get enough of them, I feel like I've got most of the core cast. I'm going to put it into a frame, all of them together with a nice poster, something like that from the movie, and it's definitely a long-term project, but that's the vision. So hopefully I'm able to achieve it one day. All right, last but not least, fan mail goes both ways here at Tales from the Collection, and this one is a nice fan letter that I got from a fan of mine who watches the videos. Robert was kind enough to send me a letter and thank me for the content. But what I really liked about this one was that he handmade the envelope. As you can see, it's made out of basic binder paper, just folded up and taped and crafted into an envelope. And he even crafted a return envelope to go inside. So it was really, you can tell it was personalized, took some time. And I think the takeaway from that is make your stuff stand out a little bit, because when we're talking about celebrities who get a large volume of fan mail, you got to think, well, if they got a stack of fan mail and maybe not everything gets responded to, maybe the envelope that stands out the most is the one that gets picked. Even though mine are pretty plain and I do get a lot of responses, it doesn't hurt to maybe use a colored envelope or put a wax seal on the back, put some stickers on it. I don't know, whatever you can do to make it stand out. I would say it would not hurt, would possibly boost your chances of getting a success. So anything you can do to personalize it, I say go for it. Now, if you want to do fan mail yourself, if you want to send a letter of request to a celebrity, request that they sign an autograph for you, then I would highly recommend you go to talesfromthecollection.com/FAQ. All of the basics of the hobby are addressed right there. All the frequently asked questions are there with the answers that will set you on the right course to get your successes going into your mailbox, just like they have for me. And this is all basically the past month, give or take a couple of days there. So that's kind of an idea of what you might be able to expect. So thank you again for watching. Really appreciate you guys.